All right, let's continue on to something called the um, subtotal. All right. Now here I'm gonna go highlight the whole thing, make sure it's automatic fit, right? So that it shows all the data and all the information that I need. Now, as you can see here, most of the spreadsheet program given, you will have to um, examine the data, right? You were given some data. Sometimes the the questions will tell you, go examine the data, right? So it's a good thing for you to understand the data first before you apply your or do your working, all right? And some of the data might not be understandable. That's when you're gonna ask the examiner or the teacher to help you out with the data. They will not help you with the questions, but the data, right? Now you can see here there's a expensive list down here, expenses that are listed here, and expenses amount, right? And you can see for February there will be rent 100, right? Shopping 200, loan 400, and then on March again you have these over here, right? So let me first try. Remember, we already teach you how to format this. Let's try and format these cells and give it a currency type of dollar. Do this more, please. Yes, okay. Now I am going to add these numbers, three numbers, and put it here as the total for February, right? This is the total for Feb, only Feb. This is the total for Feb. And also, I'm going to calculate this 3 here and put it here as the total for March, right? Total for March. Now, and then from here, I will have to calculate the whole total expenses total for March and February still on the same row. Now, let's try doing, I'm going to, there's a function here called subtotal, right? Because the total will go over here and the total will go over here and then you're going to add the whole row up, including this. It will take some time for you if you want to just highlight this and then highlight this for your total, which will give you a lot of time and sometimes it's going to be hard, right? So using subtitle is something for you. I'm going to show you how it works, all right? So I'll start off with the equal sign and say subtotal, right? Subtotal, and the subtotal will show up if you double click on the subtotal. It will give you a range of something to choose from. We usually just use the sum, all right? So sum, and then a comma, and then the cell. What is the cells I need subtotal on? I need to subtotal this free cell here. I close my formula with the curly bracket and press enter. We already know that 100 plus 200, 300 and 700 is right there. Alright? Now I'm going to use subtitle again here. Equal subtotal. Double click on the subtotal and then sum, comma, cell reference. I'll just highlight these three cells, close it and press enter. Now 4, 7, 4, 7, 8, right? That's my 800. Now, when I want to do my whole total from up here all the way down here, remember the total here down here is just a total of these two, the 800 and the 700, right? The 800 and the 700. Or just the total of these plus these. So I'm going to use the equal subtotal again at the bottom and use sum, comma, and then the cells, I'm just going to highlight from here all the way down here. Right? I'm going to highlight the whole cells, close on my bracket and press enter. Now, the formula on the subtotal here, what it does, it's total up what from here all the way here, but it takes off whatever subtotal that we have put in. So it takes off this value and this value. It does not take off, it's just didn't include it in the counting or in the addition on the sum. All right, you just add those three on the top and that three over there and put it down there. It recognizes that we're using subtotal here. That means we're not gonna include that figure or that amount in our subtotal on our total on the bottom, right? So that's for something that goes using the subtotal, right? You will see this on some of the practicals. Make sure you use the subtotal functions. This is an if functions, right? If function is something that shows up a lot, and you go on to AS level, there will be more if functions there with difference. So first thing first, highlight the and automatic fit, right? Now this is a table. Let me just, all right. If you look at this, let me take off. Sometimes Cambridge will try and confuse yourself. We're not giving any border at all, right? Any border to the data, right? And sometimes it's confused students. Oh, what is this? What is this, right? So examine the data. You can see names, and then you see some names and mark, and you see some numbers, and you know now that these ones are your headings on the top, right? Those are your labels on the top. So I'll give it a all border, and this is your headings on the top, and these are your data listing on a vertical, right? Listing vertically here because your label is there and your data is listing vertically, right? Now, the if functions, what it's doing is comparing, right? Comparing some conditions, and if the condition is met, it will give you something or display something. If the condition is not met, it will do something, all right? Now, let's start it off by giving you the equal sign and type with the if, right? You can see the if here. Um, it's already showing up. You double click on the if and you can see that. Let me try and increase this. If it increases the thing as well. Double click on the if. You can see that it's giving me or it's helping me out. Now the if has three value to be put inside. First is your logical test, then your value if it's true or whatever you've done if the condition is true, and the condition that is to be done if it's false, right? Now let's check if this person is fail or not, right? Remember this is let's just assume these exams are out of 100 marks, and we all know that 50 is the passing mark, right? If now we're going to put in a logical test, right? You can rewrite so many logical tests to fit your condition that you need, but it's all up to you, right? Whatever is gonna, but like I said, it does not mean that only one solution. Logical tests you can reword it or rewrite it in your own for your own understanding, and if you get it right, it's right. The logical test you'll be using the greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, less than, greater than or equal, which we have already tried some when we tried the equations on the database last year, right? If let's click on here, the C3, if this cell, because this is the mark cell, is greater than, let me type in the greater than or equal to 50, right? That's my condition. If this cell here, C3, is greater than or equal to 50, comma, right? that's the test. If it's greater to 50. Once you press the comma, you can see that the value if true is highlighted. I want to say this person is pass. So I'll put in there a quotation mark because we are typing in a text. So you're going to use a quotation mark so the computer understand that you're trying to type in a text. And then I'll say pass, close my quotation mark, comma. If the value is false, again with the quotation mark, and tell this guy is failing. Fail. Close quotation mark, and that's the end of my if function. Close it up and press enter. Right? Now it does the check itself, and this guy is pass. Right? Clicking at the top, so it's checking the 78. If it's greater than or equal to 50, then pass or fail. Remember, C3 here is a cell reference. It's the formula reference one cell to the left. So if I copy the formula down here onto the next cell, you will use one cell to the left on my formula, which is should give me the right one. Go down here, 52 is passing, and 34 fail. Right? So that's the use of if functions. If you are trying to compare with the conditions, if the condition is met or true, you have to do something, or if the condition is false, then do something else. Let's try it again here. We want to see if this person pass or fail, and then say repeat or no repeat. So I use an equal sign. This one, if t3 is equal to the word, right? Sorry, forget to type it there. If, then we do the logical test. The logical test is if true, if t3 is equal. Remember, every time you equal the text, you're gonna have to put in a quotation mark. For numbers, you do not have to put in a quotation mark. If this cell is equal to a word pass, comma, if it's true, if it's equal to the word pass, no repeat. Again, I'll use the quotation, comma. If the value of false, if this is not the case, that this one is not equal to pass, meaning it's going to equal to something else, then I'll just say repeat. Right? Forgot my quotation. My quotation here. Percent. Right? So you check that t3 is equal to pass. Yes, says no repeat. Again, pass, no repeat. And when it's not equal to pass, it gives you the repeat. Right? We didn't check for fail, we check for pass. But if it's not equal to pass, that's something else, which is just assuming it's fail, then we do the repeat. Right? So that's for if functions. Now we look at something called the lookup functions. Right? Now the lookup functions, you are going to take some data. We are going to take some data, and you're going to use it as a lookup value. First thing first, I'll highlight this. Automatic fits already been done. Look at the data and examine the data. Alright, I have here the title, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP functions. Then you have the code. You can see that this table already have the borders. You have the code for subject code. You have the subject name here, mathematics, English, physics, and science. And the teachers for each of these subjects is here. Right? And you have here a mark, and then passing the mark for English, passing mark is 50, 70, failing mark is 50, math passing mark is 60, failing is 50, same as for physics and for science. Right? Now, let's do a VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP functions, right? Now we need to understand the data, right? That's the most important thing. If you cannot understand the data and how is it arranged, you're gonna get the formula wrong, right? Now let's look at this first table here. And like I said from before, these three here on the top are just a label, right? And this is the data underneath. You can see the data is being arranged uh, vertically, right? Let me color this up. You can see the math there listed at the codes and all the object names um, listed here, and they all are arranged vertically, right? Vertically from top to bottom, right? Now that's something. If you that's something for you to understand. This one you can see that the label is here, even though this is labels, but it labels to the subject. But this is the label of passing and failing, and you can see the data inside is arranged in a horizontal type of horizontally, right? Horizontally here, right? Now let's try out one of the lookup functions. Right? Now you're gonna use the lookup functions to bring in the subject teacher. Wait, sorry, let me delete this off. You are going here for subject name. There's a subject name here. You are going to use the lookup functions to bring in the subject name using the subject code here, right? On the exam, they might tell you a cell to use or something to use, but there must always be a lookup value, right? For example, if your English teacher asks you to go and find a word in a dictionary, of course we know the word is going to be your lookup value or your lookup word, and then use that word to match up and find the word and gives you the meaning. All right. So that's the idea of lookup value. Something that you're going to use. Here is your subject code. Now you're going to go and use the subject code PHY and give me the subject name from this list. All right. Now, because you're using subject code to use it on this table, you have to look at the data, and we know that the data here are arranged vertically, right? The V on the lookup meaning to vertical lookup, and H here to horizontal lookup. So let's try and look up, use the vertical lookup because it's having the data arranged vertically. So I'll put the equal sign and I'll type in V lookup, right? And then the V lookup will show some of you will go and use lookup. There is a lookup function, but we're not using that, right? So avoid just typing lookup and use the lookup. Use the VLOOKUP, and when the function shows up, double click on it so it can help you, right? I'll double click and then the lookup value. This is going to be a lookup value. What are you going to use? I am going to use my PHY or the subject code, right? I already put in the P5 and you see this highlighted up for the lookup value, comma. This one is highlighted or showing my table array. That's where you're gonna do your search, right? The table that you're gonna do your search, right? I'm gonna do my search here on this table, but the idea is you're not gonna highlight the whole table. These labels here means nothing, right? It does not mean nothing. It's just labels. But for you to highlight the table array, you only need to highlight the data. So I'll highlight from here, going all the way here. Sorry about this, but our um, little helper is going over our table. So I'll just highlight my table. My table here is E4 to G7. Okay, that's my table array. Just highlight the data. Put another comma and then column index. The column index here refers to the when you find the data, which of the column beside it, you're going to bring back. For example, PHY, you are going to find the PHY here, and once you find the PHY there, right, we are calling this column number 1, right? Once you find the PHY, and then you will look to the side to this column, that's column number 2, and that's column number 3. This is column number 1, number 2, and number 3. Which column, on starting from where you find the data, will you return as the data that you need, right? Remember, we're looking for subject name. So you will just, the column index that you need to return is the second column. Once you find the data on that row, which column did you need? Not the first one, because if you want to return the first one, it will still return you the PH1. But you need the second one. So you type in 2, right? It's a subject name. If you needed the teacher, you're going to have to type in 3 because that's 1, 2, 3, right? Now you need to bring in the data from column number 2 and then comma again. Your range lookup, you always go with false, right? False or 0. It's the same thing, right? But we always do false because that's what is showing up on the program. You close it up and press enter. Now, the subject name here is physics. So again, you're using a VLOOKUP using the P5 or the PH, using the PHY or your subject code to look in here vertically and find the PH here. What is the column that you need to return? The second column. So this the word physics, return it, and of course what on the very end is false or 0, and you press enter and you will print physics, right? Now I'm gonna do the same thing here to include our teacher, right? So in practice, I always let's delete this up and then we'll do it all over again, right? Up here, equal signs, VLOOKUP. After you examine the data and see it's vertically arranged. What is my lookup value? I'm gonna use my code as my lookup value, comma, my table array. All right, before we highlight the whole table, right? This is something that we argue with Cambridge because some of the solution they only highlight what is needed. I'm only highlighting here code and subject name because I'm looking for subject name. Why would I need teacher? Right? Before we highlight, it will give you the same answers, but Cambridge solution, it says it highlights only the data it needs, right? So I think there's no mistake if you highlight the whole table, but it's a good practice. Just highlight the data that you need, right? Just from here to here, right? Do not include the label. If you include the label, like I said from before, it will not change, but it will not change your outcome. But the solution from Cambridge, it always shows that when you choose your table array, you're only using the highlighting the data within and also just highlighting enough data, just the data that you need to do your lookup on, right? Comma, and of course my column index, if I find it here, I want the second one to the side, and then comma, lookup range, or range lookup of course is false, close it up and press enter, and it gives me my physics. Look, the number 2 here for the column index, if I put 1, of course it's gonna bring me back PHY, which is what it find, and then just give me column 1, which we do not need. We need a column 2. Press enter. Right? Now we need the subject teacher name from here using the PHY again. So we do equal sign, VLOOKUP. Your lookup value would be your physics code, comma, my table array. Now I'm going to highlight it all the way to my teacher's name, comma, column index. I want this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. I want column number 3. bring back my data from column 3, comma, of course we'll use false, close it up and press enter. And now Simon is showing up as my teacher. Alright? I'm gonna stop there. For H lookup, for H lookup, we're gonna use the find no the data is showing there. Alright, I think I've put in the wrong table. But the idea is, if you look at the table, that the data is using is listing vertically, you use VLOOKUP. If you're using horizontally, then you use the H lookup. Alright.